Hey guys, it's me, Jerix103, and today I'm going to be reading the Explorer Notes. So I have a video on in the background. This is just ARC's release trailer. There will be a link in the description if you want to watch this. I'll put a link down there. So in this video, I'm going to be reading the Helana Explorer Notes. Helana is the girl on the cover of ARC on the Raptor, and she's also Australian. And I might mess up here. I'm reading off of the ARC website, so yeah. So here we go. I've lost count of how many sunrises I've seen since I arrived on this island. Hundreds, I'd imagine, yet each one seems more beautiful than the last. Sometimes I take Athena out just before dawn and watch it flying through the morning sky. It's in this simple moments that I realize just how lucky I am. Not that I was unhappy exploring the reefs and rainforests back in Oz, but I was never going to spot a Bronto stomping about the outback, was I? Since I got here, I'd had opportunity to study creatures that no other biologist has ever witnessed. I'd always be grateful for that. I'd been holding out for a change in weather before studying the wildlife on this island. Peculiar tundra region, but I think it's safe to say that it's not forthcoming clearly. This planet has no axial tilt, and therefore no seasons. That ice and snow isn't melting anytime soon. Can't say I'm happy about it. The cold and I are the best of mates. The cold and I are not the best of mates. I can tell you that, but I'll have to suck it up. The climate during the Jurassic and Cretaceous periods many of the island's creatures hail from was fairly uniform, so the Arctic region is quite that oddity. I'd be plain stubborn if me not to have a Captain Cook. The tribe that calls themselves the Howling Wolves has really made this northern adventure a lot easier. Well, them and Athena, she's right at home here. I don't think I'll ever be able to repay Rockwell for just up and giving me an Argentavis. He said our conversations and payment enough, but I still feel guilty. I should remember to collect some floral samples for him while I'm here. Anyway, tagging along with the wolves has been a good introduction to make the region, but I think I'm ready to make my own way. To make real scientific conclusions, I need to observe these animals undisturbed in their natural habitat for long periods of time. What a day. There I am, putting the finishing touches on my mammoth dossier, when all of a sudden a Tyrannosaurus starts attacking the herd. Starts attacking the herd. Struth, a Tyrannosaurus wading through the bloody snow. I asked the Howling Wolves at the nearest camp, and apparently this is a common thing. They're not new to the region. It just doesn't make sense. How can a Tyrannosaurus survive in this climate? And how can the introduction of an apex predator not shift the entire ecosystem? Well, I've combined more carnivore droppings than I care to calculate. And I can't say they proved me many answers. All the predators in this region have very similar diets. With so many different predators hunting the same prey, the population of all this species shouldn't be sustainable. Yet I found nothing to indicate that any population shift is actually happening. It's just bizarre. The longer I am here, the more I realize that shouldn't exist. Its climate is out of sync with the rest of the island. Many other creatures here are millions of years ahead of dinosaurs, and the ecosystem is almost static. There's something off. I need to review my notes. Helena, you're a dipstick. Going through my notes, I've realized that many are more predators than prey across the entire island, almost double. That's opposite of how an ecosystem is supposed to work. I can't believe it took a Tyrannosaurus frolicking through the snow for me to see it. It's plain as day. What to make of it? Add in the human factor, and it is impossible for this island to continue as its natural means. So, what is this island wildlife? Being monitored and curated somehow. I should speak to Rockwell. Maybe he's come to a similar conclusion. I never thought this island was normal. Exactly. I mean, there are giant obelisks floating in the sky, for Pete's sake. Not to mention that cave I found, which hid a platform similar to those found at the base of said obelisk. Well, similar except for those oddly shaped holes that were carved into its podium. I guess I didn't care about all that. So long as I had my beautiful, unique, and untainted ecosystem to study, I was happy. But now, no, I shouldn't write it off just yet. Not before I arrive at Rockwell's. There's still a chance that my data is off, or that I missed something obvious. I won't give up on my paradise just yet. I really need to visit Rockwell more. It's so energizing to be around someone of his experience. That's still so much excitement for his work, and talking to him always helps me gain perspective. As for the island's ecological abnormalities, I don't know how to say that, Rockwell assured me that I was jumping to conclusions. He made a great point. Just because this place doesn't follow the scientific laws we're used to doesn't mean it follows no scientific laws at all. After all, science is about discovery, and new discoveries can invalidate old principles. So before I latch into my theory, I need to gather more empirical evidence. Otherwise, I'm not a scientist. On Rockwell's recommendation, I've headed south to start into depth study of the island marine life. With the help of the tribe called the Painted Sharks, because the ecosystem of the ocean that surrounds the island is separate from the ecosystem on the mainland correlating. Patterns between them might help me isolate and understand islands' scientific abnormalities. Also, after freezing my butt off for so long, I could really use an extended stay on a tropical island. Marine biology was never my strongest field, but I do love the ocean. If nothing else, it should be beautiful there. Painted sharks have treated me like I'm the bloody queen since I've showed up. Them Rocco's letter of recommendation, I don't think I've eaten better in my entire life on the island. Not that that's a high bar, I'm a horrible cook. Oh, and they have been tremendous help with my research, of course. So far, my estimates of the predator-prey balance are consistent with the ecosystem of on the mainland. The water is simply teeming with shoals of megalodons, and they have extremely aggressive. Perhaps that's a side effect of having limited prey. Sharks aren't known as territorial creatures. I've studied them further. Still no answers as to why megalodons are so territorial, but I was privy to something even more extraordinary. Megalodon mating behavior. No one's ever witnessed whites rooting. I don't know what that is. Back home. So that alone is monumental, but I got something even better. I know what could possibly top watching megalodons. I don't know how to say that. Tracking the female. I was able to observe her for almost the full gestation period. And get this, it only lasts 1 week. 1 week. No wonder the population is so high. These are spitting out perps 44 times the rate Aussie great whites. I should compare how they have behaved in captivity. So in addition to all of the oddities, I have found with wild megalodons here, the real cherry on top. Taming them is a piece of, I'm not going to say that, a bit of training, and they're more abundant than a family dog. Now I've heard of sharks getting very redundant training over a year or so, but this extent certainly not so easy. Sharks aren't mammals or even avians. They're fish. They rely more on instinct, or put it simply, they're not very smart. You shouldn't be able to ride one like a jet ski. I'm trying to keep an open mind like Rockwell suggested, but this just feels wrong. Well, this seals it. Just when I thought I'd make some sense of these notes, I took a while visiting the painted sharks. I spotted the nail in the proverbial coffin's roost. A whole herd of giant roos, a whole herd of giant roos were just hopping about the countryside like they'd always been there. As much as I love roos, they shouldn't be here, period. They evolved in Oz only 60 million years after the dinosaurs went extinct among a bevy of other marsupials. If I know any genes, it's this. One and Percoptodon should not exist here. This island isn't an ecosystem, it's a zoo. Not too long ago, I thought this place was a far off utopia where I could study all the world's most lost wonders. Now that I am certain it's not natural, all I have to say it's lost a lot of luster. Interference from mankind hasn't helped. Most tribes have learned to live in harmony with their slice of the island, but some aren't. With that, one is even trying to conquer all the others and natural. Not this ecosystem won't be any better off. It's burned down in some great war. The sunrise is still beautiful, though. At least nothing can change that. Of all of the abnormalities that I have observed, the tame megalodons stick out to me. It was almost like they were stray dogs who resonized or I don't know how that is said, as though they had a genetic history of human obedience. Most of the observations I've been in the wild, but I think I may learn a thing or two. I observe domesticated creatures more closely. I need to study their diets, their mating patterns, how they socialize with other species, all of that. Rumor has it there's a woman that's tamed a whole mess of them all by herself, so many that they call her the beast queen of this jungle. Maybe she'll have some useful insight. I suppose it's a bit naive of me to think that someone with the moniker of Beast Queen would roll the red carpet. I guess I got used to all the friendly treatment that being an associate with Rockwell has earned me. She did let me stay at least, and she hasn't entrusted her dinosaurs to kill me yet, so that's positive. Not that she'd really need the dinosaurs. If that glare of hers gets any more intense, I'll probably just bust into flames on the spot. Sorry, burst into flames on the spot. Truth, I hope she eases up sifting through raptor excrement with someone watching. I think that means poop. With someone watching is harder than you might think. There's nothing special about the diet of these tame creatures when compared to their wild counterparts. Part of that is the Beast Queen's doing as she takes them on regular hunting exercises for training purposes. Curiously, they never have to range too far. There's an abundance of prey nearby. Despite the size of her pack, that this has held true. Regardless of this domesticated creature's remarkable birth and growth rates make it even more unusual. Oh, and I did finally get her name. Li Mei Yin. She's gotten a little less glary too. In hindsight, maybe starting by studying her animal feces just gave her the wrong impression. The most interesting thing that I have observed about Mei Ying's animals has been what they don't do. What they don't do. They never fight. Among creatures that have been domesticated for generations, like cats or dogs, that's normal. But there's a reason zoos keep their animals in separate enclosures. Certain insects are hard to curb, and there should definitely be more disputes among such a diverse group. Mei Yin has even integrated a herd of herbivores into her army, as their thick hides have proven resistant to fire explosions. Yet, despite being surrounded by carnivores, they remain untouched. It doesn't make any sense. That's not to take anything away from Mei Yin. She works hard to treat her animals and train her animals well. She's not bad company either. At least when she's not mute and I don't go full biologist. Sometimes it felt like speaking a new language, but it's kind of refreshing. After going over my notes from Mei Yin's camp, I've concluded that the animals on the island are not only used to humans, but used to captivity. Even with their accelerated growth rates, their behavior indicates that they have regularly domesticated for decades, at least. Otherwise, they have never obeyed the whims of mankind so easily. With that in mind, I believe that my theory about the island being curated is back in play. In fact, it's possible that not only are animals' populations being controlled, but the animals themselves are genetically modified. However, before I bring this to Rockwell, there's one more rumor that I want to confirm. This is the smoking gun. It has been I simply can't convince that this place is natural after finding an island populated entirely by carnivores. Even if they fed off of each other, which is awfully dubious given that carnivore meat is much more likely to carry harmful parasites than herbivore meat, the landmass is so small and the population is so dense that they could never maintain it. Yet there is a hidden away off in the northeast coast of this island. Someone would have put them there on purpose. There's no way that Rockwell can't deny my theory now. As I expected, Rockwell couldn't deny my theory, but I can't say that I have his endorsement either. He didn't seem terribly engrossed in the subject. Frankly, something else that seems to have captured his attention is the obelisks. The island's obelisk. Apparently, Rockwell stumbled upon a way to interact with the towering monuments while spelunking. All things, I guess he felt the need to scratch the old interpreted explorer itch of his. It's pretty impressive considering his age. Now that I think about it, the obelisk could be linked to my own findings. Their nature has always been a mystery, and Rockwell made some interrogating observations. I should follow up. Though I've been received by the Iron Brotherhood that didn't seem very pleased to see me, especially when I mentioned Rockwell. That's a first, and that to rather this deserted, gloomy state of their compound, and I'm starting to feel a bit apprehensive. Their leader can't return from his hunting expedition soon enough. All I've confirmed so far is that yes, they gathered all of the artifacts Rockwell sought, and yes, the artifacts were able to activate one of the obelisks. You'd think that they'd be celebrating such a monumental discovery, but it's just killjoys as far as the eye can see. Go figure. Sorry, I just gotta clear my throat. I keep glancing at the artifact. I understand why the Iron Brotherhood's leader didn't want it. Since it has no apparent use, all it does is remind him of the tribesmen who died seizing it from the giant spider, aka the Brood Mother, if you've played Ark. Can it really be useless, though? They describe the artifacts that activated the obelisk as looking similar to it. So I headed to the nearest obelisk to see if I could get a response. No luck. Maybe it activates something else. Of course, the platform in the cave. It's a long shot, but it's the only thing I can think of that's similar to the obelisk. Definitely worth a try. Unbelievable! The artifact perfectly fits one of the slots in the platform pedestal. How did I not notice that right away? I'm really a dipstick. So if this key, such as was acquired by activating one of the obelisks, then it follows with that the other two keys can be obtained by activating the other two obelisks. Then with all three keys, maybe this platform will lead to whatever is controlling the island's ecosystem. If not the if not the if the other obelisks work the way that the first one did, that means I have to find a whole mess of artifacts first, and I don't think I can do that alone. Well, the howling wolves are quickly tracking down the artifacts, but after hearing about what happened to the Iron Brotherhood, that's so as far as they'll go. It's understandable, but it leaves me in a tight spot. If a giant spider and I get in a scrap, the spider's winning for sure. I have spider fear, so that would terrify me. Even with Athena on my side, I'd prefer to avoid danger. Arachnophobia, that's what it's called. I'd prefer to avoid danger, not confront it. My aim's another word I'm not going to say. Poor. And I've got fists like marshmallows. If I want a fair go at actually surviving whatever happens when the obelisk activate, I'll need backup. Negotiation notes. Don't mention feces. Don't look at the glare. Bring chili unburned. Okay, so that's pretty much her talking about Mayan. Now I know you don't get the name like Beast Queen without one tough lady, but when I saw the giant ape, I still thought we were butchered. Fortunately, Mayan's got more intensity, fortitude than yours truly, and somehow, some way, she was able to pull out a win. Glad I'm on her good side. I already found the second key, but I want to take a look around here before we head back through the portal. This ape either lived here or was released when we activated the obelisk. Finding out how it survived in this isolated environment or how it got here could provide or prove useful. So these are conkers that I heard about way back when. Not a great first impression. Marion and I weren't quit mates, but watching her creatures get slaughtered like that certainly wasn't pleasant. I'm not a fan of the prisoner's lifestyle either. The leader introduced himself as Gaia's Miraculous Nerva, aka another character in this story that we will read later. And he's not a complete bogan. Hey, that's almost my name. I'll give him that. He let me keep my personal effects, and our conversations have been civil so far. I get the feeling that that'll change if I don't cooperate, though. Not that I have much choice. They already took the keys. The only way I'm seeing this through is as a guest of the New Legion. This nervous bloke, Fig Jam, inserted. He seems to think that he's Jupiter gift to the island or some rubbish like that. I think his ego was actually tangible when the Legion returned from the obelisk with the third key of the head, a dragon in tow. Sadly, as much as I would enjoy seeing him fall flat on his face, I need him and the new Legion. So when I asked him to guide his forces to the hidden cave, I obliged without protest. What he'll do with me afterwards, I don't know. When Nerva and his band return from the cave, they'll decide my fate. So this may be my final chance to reflect. I may as well take advantage of it. I realized that I had just ignored my signs and accepted the paradise at face value. I'd still be happy and free. Would that I have been better? I don't think so. I don't think so. After a lot of thought, I've decided that I'd rather die seeking the truth than living in illusion. That, as Rockwell would say, is the path of a true scientist. Not that I'm a Galileo battling the church or anything, but hey, it's something to hold on to. Well, I'm not dead, and as it turns out, neither was Mei Yin. In fact, it was her who freed me, but instead we followed Nerva through the portal in the cave. A horrifying scene awaited us. All of Nerva's men lay dead amongst the shards of a mysterious metal, but Nerva's body was missing. Forgetting my present company, I suggested a peaceful approach if we encountered him. That earned me one heck of a knockout punch. That wasn't the actual word. It's HE double hockey stick. When I came to, I searched the whole station, but the only signs of Mei Yin and Nerva were a few ounces of dried blood, no bodies, and no victor. Through floating outside the window and surrounding my machinery was the very island that I had been living on, and it was orbiting high above the earth, along with countless other stations just like it. The ecosystem on the island wasn't just curated. It seems it was completely artificial from the ground up. What in the HE double hockey stick is all of this? Why would anyone construct it? And how could they have possibly kept it hidden from the world? I don't have the answers to any of these questions or the dozens of others that keep popping into my head, but somehow I mean to find out. Somehow I'll find the truth. And then this is pretty much where they ascend. There is no more notes. As I said, well, there is more notes for the Scorched and stuff, and I will do videos on those, but I'm gonna do the other people first. So, yeah, leave a like if you enjoyed this video and if it was helpful, helping you understand Helena a little bit more. And as I said, I'll put this video in the description, the one that you're seeing on screen. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope it was helpful. Remember to leave a like if it was helpful. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.